The Law and You, a look at laws in St. Vincent and the Grenadines which affect our daily lives. The Law and You, presented by lawyer panel P.R Campbell QC and brought to you on SVG-TV as a public service.
Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, boys and girls, greetings. Welcome to another presentation in this public service nation building series, The Law and You. This is program number 880. And it is coming to you on Monday the 16th of October 2017. On this program, I will speak to you on the topic Political Tribalism Part 2. But before getting into the topic, a few short preliminary comments. Firstly, and as usual, my condolences go out to all families which have suffered recent bereavements, particularly where those bereavements have been caused by acts of violence. My sympathy to one and all. Secondly, I would like to inform you, probably inform may not be the correct word because most of you would have already heard, but at least to remind you that there will be a national Independence service this coming Sunday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon at Faith Temple Church, New Montrose. The service will be an ecumenical service, meaning a service in which many different religious denominations participate. The theme of the service, I am informed, will be working together to enhance national pride. And it is not new. Every year at Independence time, at a Sunday near to Independence, and usually before Independence anniversary, there is an ecumenical service at which various denominations take part. And this year's ecumenical service will be at Faith Temple this coming Sunday, 22nd October at 4 p.m. The members of the congregation of all churches are invited to take part in that service. And of course, next week, Friday, will be the Independence Anniversary celebration itself, the 27th of October. But on next Monday night's program, Divi, I may say a few words about that. Okay? All right. Well, I want to thank the very many persons who commended last week's program of The Law and You, dealing with political tribalism. Thank you all for your comments, especially you, Archdeacon Harry. Thank you very much for your kind remarks. And I thought, okay, well, in as much as there were aspects of political tribalism that I didn't have the time to touch upon last week, I decided to do a part 2 of the program to go a bit deeper into the topic. And I'll tell you, what has really inspired me and stirred me up to think about and meditate on the whole question of governance has been the utter devastation left behind by the recent hurricanes which have passed through the Caribbean, particularly the second one. Because when an entire island has to be evacuated, that is, everybody taken off an island, all the inhabitants, in the case of Barbuda, it means that the island is simply left with buildings, most of them destroyed, and those which are not totally destroyed were damaged. A whole island. Just imagine if we had to evacuate any one of the Grenadine Islands and move everybody out because conditions were simply not suitable for the continuation of human habitation, at least immediately. It is an awesome thing. You look at the devastation in Anguilla, in St. Martin, in parts of the Turks and Caicos, in almost the whole of Puerto Rico, in parts of Cuba, and nearer home, in the whole of Dominica. You look at that devastation, which would have taken place in the span of a few hours. Then you have to wonder, political sovereignty amongst what? And I keep concentrating on Dominica and hope that once again, let me appeal to you, do all you can to assist the people of Dominica and the other islands in the Caribbean. When you look at Dominica, and there were some pictures of Dominica shown intermittently during the hastily arranged T20 match between the Red Force of Trinidad and the Caribbean Unity team, which congratulations to the Caribbean team, but a very enjoyable match, over 400 runs scored. I looked at the whole match. When you look at those pictures of devastation, and you consider, wait, what is life like right now, today, for the people who still remain in Dominica? Think of the thousands of people who no longer have a job because the business place at which they worked was damaged or destroyed. So they have no pay coming at the end of the fortnight or the month. Civil servants are fortunate, they will get their pay. In fact, they have been paid at the end of September. Other persons who work in the government service. But think of those other workers employed in private industry, whether it's a factory or whatever, even as a maid working in somebody's home. The home is destroyed. You have no work to go to. You have no work to go to. You have no money coming in. Not only that, but in many, many parts of Dominica, you still have no electricity, no running water. The basic amenities that we take for granted. The Prime Minister of Dominica, Roosevelt Scarrett, said, in the course of 4 to 5 hours, his country was destroyed. This is a sovereign, independent country, a member of the United Nations, a member of the OECS, a member of CARICOM, reduced to ruin. The Prime Minister said agriculture is all gone, and when you see the pictures, Dominica prided itself on its forestry. It was widely advertised on television as the Nature Isle of the Caribbean. You look at CPL cricket and you see advertisements by the Dominican tourism authorities showing the pristine nature of Dominica, its green forests, its 365 rivers, its lush mountains, its rich agriculture, its multiplicity of villages, and in 4 to 5 hours, damaged, destroyed. I keep meditating on what then becomes of sovereignty in Dominica. You're a sovereign state, yes, but a sovereign state that has been reduced to depending on others and will depend on others for many, many years to help it to restore itself. It will take years for trees to grow back, a long time for crops to be replanted and reaped, a long, long time for buildings to be repaired or rebuilt. Many of them would never get rebuilt because they were uninsured and the owners would hardly be in a position to rebuild them. Some would have taken years, little by little, to be built. 4 to 5 hours, hurricane, category 5, gone. Building gone. Livelihoods destroyed. Now the point is, we in St. Vincent and the Grenadines must keep on thanking God that we haven't been struck with a calamity of so large a scale as Dominica. Yes, we have had our storms every now and then that have caused flooding and landslides and destruction, but nothing resembling what happened in our other sister countries of the Caribbean. God forbid we should ever be visited with a natural disaster. But as I said before, we live in a country that is prone to natural disasters, not just hurricanes. We house a volcano, and we are in an earthquake belt. Now the point is our governance suited to the possibility of a natural disaster? In other words, are we so organized governmentally that we would be in a position to rebuild quickly after any natural disaster? And the answer is no. Our political mechanisms are not suited for times of trouble. But the problem is that in the Caribbean, certainly in terms of economic development, the times are always times of trouble. We are classified as developing countries, but that is a bit of a euphemism. We have in the Caribbean high levels of unemployment and underemployment, high levels of underdevelopment. Governments of all shades and all countries have been trying their best in the circumstances. But I want to suggest to you that because of the nature of our governance, based as it is on political tribalism, we are not maximizing the resources which the good Lord has blessed us with. So far, we have been blessed, we have been spared so far. And we have to thank the good Lord for His kindness and His mercy. May it long remain that way. But in the political sphere, as we would have analyzed in the years leading up to the referendum of 2009, the political system which we have in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, like the political systems in other countries of the Caribbean, is based on competition and not on cooperation. Let me take you back 2 centuries. Our political system is modeled on that of the mother country, England. The people of England colonized North America. And in due course, the people of North America, the people in the colonies, as they were known at the time, decided to break away from the mother country, England, and have their own independent constitution. And the founding fathers of the United States of America, as it later became known, sat down and worked out a political system which they wanted to be as far removed from the one in England as they could devise, because they saw the limitations of the British political system. They said, no, we want to start afresh. We want to build our own political system. And what did the founding fathers of the United States of America do? They devised a system, one of the effects of which was to minimize political tribalism, because they said, we don't want a country where one man could rule and exercise power. They said we want a democratic country of representative government. So they created a system with a president as head of the executive, a Congress being the legislative branch of the governance, and the Supreme Court being the judicial arm of government. And they said, we will have these 3 centers of power balanced in such a way that none would supersede the other. We'll have checks and balances. So the president got some powers, the Congress got some powers, and the Supreme Court got some powers. Now, in the United States Congress, we see a system different from anything we have in the Caribbean in our parliaments. In our parliament, once a political party wins an election, that political party rules supreme. And that rulership, that supremacy of the political party that wins election has been called a winner-takes-all system. So when one party gets into power, it has its leader, who is called a prime minister, and that party controls all the levers of governmental power. Opposition exists, yes, excuse me. Oppositions exist, yes. But in our Westminster system, as it is called, modeled on what we got from England, there's no role in governance for the opposition. They simply go to Parliament and make noise. nothing constructive for the opposition to do except to oppose. The Americans said, no, 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 we don't want that sort of system. We want a system where in Congress, the lawmaking arm of governance, if there are two parties, every congressional committee must have representatives of the two parties. So that is why in the United States now, you will find in the House of Representatives, the Congress as colloquially called, committees with Democrats and Republicans. In the House of Senate, committees, Democrats and Republicans, reflecting proportionately the total number of seats represented by Democrats and Republicans. So in the United States of America, their system allows both parties a role in governance, a real role, not play. They don't have the system that we have where if the Republicans win a majority of the Congress, they make the laws and all that the Democrats can do is to make noise. No. They have a system where both parties cooperate in many, many areas. Now, of course, with the advent of Mr. Trump, who is unorthodox, to say the least, there are strains because Mr. Trump is technically a Republican, but there are some Republicans who say that Mr. Trump is not a Republican. Be that as it may, the American system allows the two parties to participate in governance. And there are some things which one party can't do without the cooperation of the other party. Checks and balances. In our system, not so. A party wins power and it simply rules until next elections. If they lose power, the winning party comes in to replace them and usually does the same things that it criticized the former government for. And that is, so many of the things which an opposition will castigate, if they get into power, they will do the same thing and worse in many cases. Because once in our system, a party, and for descriptive purposes, we call them a tribe, gets into office, that tribe has all the levers of governmental power. The head of the tribe, the prime minister, has enormous powers. And I know that because I was part of a tribe, the NDP tribe, which won power in 1984 and continued in office till 2001. I was part and parcel of the mechanism in Parliament and then as a Minister of Government in the important position of Attorney General, and saw how the system functions. I was chairman of the party for over 13 years. So I know about the political system and how it functions. Now, in that sort of situation, what you get is enmity, strife, discord, and with the advent of talk radio, that enmity and strife lasts for the whole term of a government. You see, in the days of Joshua and Cato, and in the early days of the NDP, after elections, people knitted back together. You know, people would campaign for the parties, you'll have the usual cussing, they sometimes got to politics, but by and large, after elections, people settle down and help to build a country. Next elections, they started up again on the campaign. Now, with the advent of talk radio, there is no settling down, because from election to election, both parties are on the radio stations castigating one another, sowing the seeds of discord, fermenting hatred. And I use the word hatred because I want to be graphic and truthful. At election time, parties set out to utterly destroy the candidates of the other parties. Stories are recited about them and their families on the political platform, regardless of the truth or accuracy of those stories, because the intention is simply to destroy that candidate so that your candidate can hopefully win the seat. And then after elections, there's no settling down, there's no knitting back. It's dog eat dog, because each tribe has its own group of talk show people on the radios and so on, who see to it that the political temperature remains at a high level throughout the 5 years of the life of a government. And at election time, that temperature reaches boiling point. So that politically, we are not really prepared for the sort of unity we will require if we had to face a natural disaster. And we have seen it. I am not speaking things which you don't know. We simply have to be honest and recognize the reality. And it's no point one side proclaiming their innocence and castigating the other side. Both sides, and let me tell you, whoever gets into power after election will carry on in the same way and sometimes worse than those they replaced. Not because they are inherently evil, but it is seen that it is necessary for political survival and political supremacy to trample the other side. So brotherly love goes out the window, and we exist in a state of tension. For those who are die-hard supporters of one side, your party can't do any wrong, and the other party can do no right, and vice versa. So I don't want any one side to feel that they must proclaim innocence and purity. All have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. I believe I need to continue this for another week, and perhaps next week, Monday, might be a fitting time to bring part 3 and to round off this discussion on political tribalism. Fascinating, but unfortunately a fact of political life. Not just in St. Vincent and Grenadines, mind you, throughout the Caribbean. So that is all from this program of the Law and You, program number 880. I look forward to being a further service to you next week, Monday DV, for another presentation in this public service nation-building series, The Law and You. Don't forget the National Ecumenical Service on Sunday, coming Sunday the 22nd October at Faith Temple Church, New Montrose, Kingstown at 4 o'clock. Please be there. May the good Lord continue to bless us all.
The Law and You, a look at laws in St. Vincent and the Grenadines which affect our daily lives. The Law and You, presented by lawyer panel R. Campbell QC and brought to you on SVG-TV as a public service.